Introverts, how did you meet your girlfriend? A TA session for differential equations for scientists and engineers. Most of my relationships started online, with the girl initiating the conversation. Always been more confident online, more open, etc., since I can take the time to put my thoughts in order before I type them out and change them if I don't think they sound right. BB's chat room, everyone would talk publicly and cheapened me one time and kinda went from there. Student news group, about the same as above. 2 off ICQ, both totally random back when there was the random option and less than 2 million UINs. Both long distance but did meet in person multiple times. Y-fish, living together 7 years, 2 kids, not yet married through a mud, same clan and then went to talking privately. Also had 2 half online / half real life. First was a co-worker that was dating another guy who moved out of state. I expressed interest sarcastically, "Oh, so the rest of us can get a chance now?" But she didn't take it seriously or respond. I ended up replying to a personal ad, which turned out to be her. She first pretended she was her cousin for a month or so as she felt me out, before her cousin left and she started talking instead. Second half was an extended circle of friends. Elementary school friends, ex's friend, would hang out with him and another friend of mine. Eventually it was the other friend, and I. She and I eventually started talking to each other online after we all got home, and she eventually props to FWB thing, which eventually turned into a relationship. Introverted lady here. I met my husband because I'd locked myself out of my dorm room. I found my sweet mate in front of my dorm. She said she'd let me in but she needed to meet this guy first. She introduced me to him when we got there. I started seeing him all over campus, and he talked to me each time. He eventually weaseled my AIM screen name out of me, and asked me out later via AIM's, then new, video chat feature. In October, it'll have been 10 years together and 3 married. My friend Steve drugged me with him to the state fair so he could meet up with some girl he liked, Laura. I didn't really want to go, but whatever. Laura also brought a friend with her, Sarah. Steve and Laura pretty much ditched us and it was super awkward because I didn't know this Sarah girl. That was about 15 years ago. In July me and Sarah will be celebrating our 13th wedding anniversary. Names changed, etc. etc. We go to the same taekwondo dojo. Turns out she liked me for over a year and I had no idea. On a school overseas trip in Nouméa, New Caledonia. We're both introverts so our friend had to everything for us. We were apparently really cute, despite the fact that I'm as smooth as sandpaper. ITT, people confusing what it means to be an introvert versus just socially inept. The real advice is either be attractive to someone, or be bold. I am an introvert, meaning that I recharge my batteries in isolation from others. I am not shy. In fact, I am very outgoing. Before I married my wife, I met women easily and had no trouble asking them out. But I do need my alone time. I haven't. We met through a series of mutual friends and their roommates the first couple days of college. Still together 21 years later. We started at the same school on the same day after moving from our respective cities. Her mom did my ties for me. 9 years later we've been together for over 4 years. Freshman in college. Had a huge crush on this girl in my English class but couldn't ask her out because of nerves. We had to do a group project where you signed up to decide groups. I saw there was a spot open in her group so I signed up. The other girl in the group dropped the class so it was just me and her hanging out. After the project ended we never stopped talking. I met my GF at a small party, 10 people. We talked for a while and then she messaged me later. We went on a play date and I liked her so I seduced her. I'm introverted but not shy. I stay home every weekend and only see my friends like once every 2 months. But when I do have social interaction I'm not blundering my words or lacking things to say. I mostly just prefer to not talk to unnecessary people. My husband and I met when we worked together at a bakery. I'd hear funny snippets of conversation coming from the kitchen, so I'd pop my head back occasionally and see what was up. Slowly over time, I just started hanging out in the kitchen instead. Smile. ICQ in 1999. Now we've been married for close to 17 years. Was drinking at a bar. I'm not so introverted when tipsy. We met online using OkCupid. I made sure that whenever I sent messages to anyone I'd actually read their profile and had something interesting to say. She had been signed up for less than a week before I sent her a message, and I was really lucky on my timing. She'd had the misfortune to put that she liked video games on her profile, and she told me that by the time we were officially dating and she stopped checking it, she'd received dozens of one-sentence messages asking her what her favorite game was. I managed to get in before she stopped paying attention to new messages entirely, and for the record, though I'm also a gamer, I led with a question about a trip she'd mentioned she'd taken, which helped set me apart from everyone else there. It turns out that she's an introvert too. We both were really awkward on our first date. We just met for coffee. Neither of us was really good at keeping the conversation going, so there was a lot of awkward silence. Luckily we both recognized it as a mutual thing. We both had trouble conversing, but we were both interested, so we went on a second date, where things were much smoother, and a third, and now we've been together almost 4 years. Mine was my waitress at the only good lunch spot near my job for like a year. I had lunch there almost every day and fantasized about talking to her until the restaurant closed. Months later, she popped up on Tinder, and I actually had a good opening message. "Hey, do you remember me? I used to eat at your restaurant all the time." She did remember me. I met her for a coffee date and now we're engaged a year later. Band camp. Both of us were in the clarinet section. She asked me out first. We have a similar sense of morbid humor and we were in the same fandoms for the most part. We connected emotionally and then sexually, so yeah. She's been upgraded to a wife now, but probably still counts. Long story short, she was slightly more introverted than me. She is a really good artist, and so I would always drop by and ask her what she was drawing. One thing led to another, and we ended up becoming high school sweethearts and marrying about a year ago. Well, I had a huge crush on this girl my freshman and sophomore year in high school, and algebra class became an excuse to talk to her. I made it really obvious that I liked her. Eventually she gave in. Unfortunately it didn't work out too well about 2 years in and we broke up. Oh well. My girlfriend and I met when I worked where she used to and somehow got my number and Snapchat, and we just started talking. I wouldn't have asked for hers because social interaction is scary. She became my best friend, hanging out like every day because I barely had any other friends and we were kinda like, yeah sure let's date. 2 years later she's still tolerating me, so I guess I'm doing something right. I would stop by the bar she worked at every day before EMT class to kill some time before class started. Been dating for almost a year now. We were neighbors as kids, and we were friends. Got together in middle school. Still together. What girlfriend? She was my next door neighbor. She's now my wife. An ether-soaked rag and Stockholm syndrome. Female introvert here. We met online and he was pretty chill with wanting to go slow and text/email until I was comfortable enough to really get involved. I simply let him know in the beginning and we worked on it together. We met in middle school and then I moved upstate. Years later in high school we met up and dated for a while. We broke up yesterday. Shot her in the face and pushed the little cart. TLDR, one day she went up to me and went like, "Hey, you seem taller today." 3 years later we started dating and still going. I didn't. My roommate in college was in a frat and invited me to parties, and I usually didn't go because I don't like crowds or noises, but for whatever reason I decided to go to one of them. My other friend brought this girl, my now girlfriend, and introduced us and left her to go see a sorority girl's tits. She later said that she didn't leave because I seemed nice and we spent the whole night talking. I was so nervous to talk to her that I forgot to get her number, but my friend who brought her gave me her number, and luckily she didn't think that was too weird. Sometimes I think about how if I had never gone to that one party and she didn't talk to me first, I wouldn't be in a 2-year-long relationship right now. We're no longer together, but I went to Subway on lunch break with some guys from lunch, and thought the girl making the subs was cute. I was too shy to talk to her around the other guys, but I doubt I would have alone either lol. I caught her name on her name tag and went home and added her on Facebook. I struck up a conversation and we eventually dated. I'll never not be surprised that she wasn't creeped out lol.